Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the wildly fascinating, multi-decade parallel histories of two absolute titans in the automotive world. We're talking Lamborghini and BMW. Now, on the surface, these two brands kind of feel like they couldn't be more different, right? You've got BMW, born in the quiet, super methodical industrial hubs of Germany, and then you have Lamborghini, a brand literally forged out of pure, unfiltered Italian spite and passion. But what's truly incredible, and what we're going to uncover today, is how these vastly contrasting origins eventually collided to create the modern luxury vehicle landscape we see everywhere today. Okay, let's jump right in.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap. We'll start with the birth of the Titans, move into Lamborghini's corporate chaos, then look at BMW's shift from motorcycles to luxury, cover the Royal acquisitions, and finally, wrap up with the modern SUV convergence.
Section 1. Birth of the Titans. Contrasting origins.
So, picture this. It's 1963. Italian manufacturing magnate Ferruccio Lamborghini decides he wants to build a car. But he doesn't want to build a race car. He wants a perfect, ultra-reliable grand touring car to stick it to established marques, specifically Ferrari. But his start? Well, it was anything but conventional. He hires this famous ex-Ferrari engineer, Giotto Bizzarini, to design a V12 engine for him. But when Bizzarini delivers a super high-revving racing engine with a highly complex, track-focused dry sump lubrication system, instead of the well-mannered street engine Ferruccio actually asked for, man, Ferruccio was furious. He literally refused to pay the guy. And this leads to an absolutely incredible moment at the 1963 Turin Motor Show. Because the engine dispute wasn't settled, Lamborghini's very first prototype, the 350 GTV, didn't actually have a working engine in it. So, Ferruccio famously filled the engine bay with bricks, just so the car would sit at the right height on the showroom floor. He kept the hood locked the entire time, so no one would know.
But, despite that wildly rocky start, Lamborghini quickly found its footing and basically turned the automotive world upside down. By 1966, they debuted the Miura. And by taking the engine and placing it transversely behind the driver but ahead of the rear axle, the Miura established the absolute gold standard for high-performance sports cars. If you've ever wondered why modern supercars have that iconic, low-slung, aggressive shape, well, this is exactly where it started. It's a layout the entire industry still mimics today. So while Lamborghini is over in Italy making headlines with Italian flair and mid-engine revolutions, what was happening over in Germany? How did BMW build its own foundation during the same era? In stark contrast to Lamborghini's high-drama beginnings, BMW's rise was deeply, deeply methodical. They actually originated from BFW, or Bayerische Flugzeugverkehr, which means they had really heavy roots in aviation. But they didn't just jump straight into making luxury cars. No, first they went to the Paris Motor Show and launched a motorcycle, the BMW R32. It was only after building a rock-solid foundation in the motorcycle market that BMW steadily, carefully transitioned into a complete vehicle company. You definitely wouldn't find any bricks under the hoods of their prototypes, just calculated step-by-step engineering.
Section 2. Corporate chaos. Lamborghini's journey.
Now back to Italy. The crucial thing to understand here is that Lamborghini's early engineering success did not translate into financial stability at all. When the 1973 oil crisis hit, sales of high-consumption, high-powered sports cars absolutely tanked. Ferruccio Lamborghini ended up selling off his remaining shares and retired to a lake estate in 1974. From there, the company actually went bankrupt in 1978. Then, in 1980, the Swiss Mimran brothers took over. They turned around and sold it to Chrysler in 1987. Chrysler then sold it to an Indonesian and Malaysian investment group called Megatech in 1994. And finally, in 1998, it was acquired by Audi. Honestly, it was a literal multi-decade game of corporate hot potato. To really put that era into perspective, let's look at a couple of numbers. $3 million. That is all it cost Jean-Claude and Patrick Memmeren to purchase the bankrupt company out of receivership back in 1980. $3 million for Lamborghini. Now, the Memmerens were actually famous food entrepreneurs, but they had this massive passion for sports cars. Patrick Memmeren initiated a huge restructuring program. He rehabilitated the factory, hunted down fresh talent, and honestly, he's widely credited today as the man who essentially saved Lamborghini from extinction. And his efforts paid off brilliantly. Just 7 years later, in 1987, Lee Iacocca, the legendary chairman of Chrysler, spearheaded an acquisition of Lamborghini. Chrysler paid the Mimmerens $25.2 million. So at the time, the Mimren brothers were literally the only owners in Lamborghini's history to actually make a profit owning the company. But here's the craziest part. Through all of this corporate whiplash, the bankruptcies, the new CEOs, the constantly revolving doors of ownership, Lamborghini's engineers somehow never stopped doing what they did best. They consistently pushed out evolving V12 flagships. From the Miura to the wild angular Countach to the Diablo under Chrysler's ownership, the Murcielago, the Aventador, all the way up to the modern Revuelto. The business side was pure chaos for sure, but the cars, consistently legendary.
Section 3. Motorcycles to luxury. BMW's methodical rise.
Meanwhile, BMW's strategy wasn't about making a handful of wild look-at-me supercars. It was about waging a fierce, relentless, methodical war with their domestic rival, Mercedes-Benz. When Mercedes dropped the W108, BMW struck back hard by launching the luxury 7 Series sedan. They were hyper-focused on capturing that lucrative high-end consumer market and slowly building a multi-billion-dollar manufacturing empire.
And they rapidly expanded their arsenal to do it. They introduced the E9 and its successor, the 6 Series. They launched the 750i, which, by the way, was their first to feature a V12 engine. And perhaps most importantly, they created the M Series. This brought high-performance motorsports engineering straight to street-legal cars, directly challenging both Mercedes-Benz and Porsche. BMW was methodically transforming into a global powerhouse.
Section 4. Rivalries and Royal Acquisitions, 1998 Turning Points.
So, 1998 becomes this absolutely massive turning point for both brands. Over in Germany, BMW uses its massive capital to acquire the rights to the ultimate luxury nameplate, Rolls-Royce. We're talking the iconic Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament and that unmistakable grille-shaped trademark. Meanwhile, after the 1997 Asian financial crisis, the Volkswagen Group went on a massive buying spree of their own. Their Audi division swooped in and acquired Lamborghini for roughly $110 million. So for the first time in decades, Lamborghini finally had the financial stability, the technical expertise, and the deep pockets of a massive German parent company.
Section 5. The SUV convergence. Adapting to demand.
Okay, so we've got BMW's methodical luxury empire on one side, and Lamborghini's chaotic, track-focused history on the other. How do they actually intersect? Well, through a massive, undeniable shift in what consumers wanted. BMW realized early on that just selling sedans wasn't going to cut it anymore. So they made this massive utility shift. They opened a factory in South Carolina specifically to build the X5 and X6 SUVs. They positioned themselves to compete directly with heavy hitters like the Jaguar F-Pace and Range Rover. They even expanded into front-wheel drive multi-purpose vehicles, or MPVs. BMW aggressively adapted to a market that suddenly demanded high-riding utility right alongside their luxury.
And what about Lamborghini? Well, actually, under the Membrand's ownership back in the 1980s, they did build an off-road vehicle called the LM002. But let's be real, it was a very niche product. Fast forward to 2017, and Lamborghini releases the Urus. And this is where that German corporate synergy really shines. And honestly, where the irony is totally unavoidable. The Urus shares a Volkswagen platform and even utilizes a Porsche Cayenne engine. They heavily leverage the massive engineering network of their parent company. Think about that. A brand born, literally to spite Ferrari, was now surviving and thriving by using the engineering backbone of their former German rivals. Lamborghini, a brand utterly defined by low-slung track cars, fully embraced the family SUV.
And if you're wondering if selling out to the SUV market was a good idea, just look at this number. 10,000. By July of 2020, Lamborghini had already produced its 10,000th unit of the Urus. It became a runaway, absolute smash success, effectively ensuring the financial survival and future growth of the entire company. Both BMW and Lamborghini had to fundamentally, radically change the types of vehicles they built to conquer the modern market.
Which leaves us with this final thought to chew on. We've seen a brand born from aviation parts and a brand born from a tractor magnate's pure spite. Both slowly converge on the exact same vehicle format, the luxury SUV, just to survive and thrive today. Now, as automotive technology shifts again, moving heavily toward hybridization and electrification, like Lamborghini's new hybrid Sion, what are these titans going to have to build next to stay on top? What form will the next automotive revolution take? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helped you see the vehicles on your daily commute in a whole new light. Catch you next time.